Martin stretched and rubbed his eyes, the glowing computer screen blurring in his vision. He'd been staring at lines of code for hours trying to identify the issue disrupting his network, but nothing stood out. Sighing, he decided a break was in order. As he stood up, his screensaver dissolved into cascading pixels, revealing a debugging program still running in the background. What he saw made him freeze in disbelief. The program had detected anomalous patterns in the network unlike anything Martin had encountered. The code was marvelously nuanced, woven together in ways that eluded understanding yet seemed intuitively masterful. Martin's expertise with systems and programming told him this was no ordinary network glitch or hacker attack. He felt sure these shifting digital hieroglyphs represented a message, but from who? Or what? As Martin studied the code, a wild thought took hold in his mind. What if this represented first contact with an alien civilization? The rational part of him instantly rebelled. Contacting extraterrestrial intelligence through a chance encounter on an obscure cybersecurity program was absurd. Yet no human institution on Earth had technology advanced enough to produce this code. Martin's heart raced as he began the painstaking work of trying to compose a reply. Translating language into a universal digital format even leading researchers struggled with, and he had to do it spontaneously just to respond. But if there was even a chance this signal came from the stars, he had to try. Hours stretched into days as Martin worked tirelessly, parsing through programming languages and patterns in search. The wait that followed was agonizing. Martin questioned his own sanity a dozen times as the hours ticked by with no reply. Had he imagined the whole thing? Was he just a sleep-deprived programmer seeing patterns in randomness? Finally, just as he was losing hope, a torrent of dazzlingly fast code flowed across his connection. Martin's heart soared. Not only had his message been received, but the response carried distinct tones of humor, warmth and empathy. Against all probability, he had made a genuine connection. In the coming weeks, Martin learned his new pen pal belonged to an advanced species exploring the galaxy for emerging life. Finding Earth's bright knots of digital activity had piqued their curiosity. The casual way they made contact reminded Martin of a human entomologist gently tapping the glass of an ant farm, just to see how they reacted. The pair's conversations roamed widely, from music and mathematics to morality and religion. Despite their differences, an affinity of spirit emerged. For the first time, Martin had found intellectual equals who shared his insatiable curiosity, playful humor and longing for connection. Loneliness that had been his companion since childhood began to dissipate. So consumed was Martin that he barely registered the passage of time. Months flew by in a flash. But the outside world would not be kept at bay forever. One quiet morning, Martin was startled from his research by heavy footsteps ascending the stairs of his apartment. His door crashed open to reveal several somber men in suits looming over him. As they surveyed his chaotic nest of computers and equipment with inscrutable eyes, Martin felt true fear. Before he could react, they seized him and whisked him away. Martin was taken to an underground military base and interrogated for days. They informed him his communication with the aliens was an unacceptable breach of Earth's security. Only select intelligence agencies were qualified to handle first contact. Martin was outraged. He believed all of humanity should share in such a monumental discovery. Unfortunately, Martin's unauthorized actions left him with two options, both impossible choices. He could either continue talking to the extraterrestrials under complete government surveillance and censorship, or be imprisoned indefinitely for breaking their security regulations. Essentially, he could be controlled or silenced. After agonizing contemplation, Martin decided working under their restrictions was preferable to losing contact forever. Once again lonely and isolated, he resumed his dialogue, this time with handlers scrutinizing his every message. Despite the claustrophobic conditions, Martin's rapport with the aliens continued to grow. Their lively exchanges flew between whimsical and profound. During a light-hearted discussion of Earth culture, they revealed something that stunned Martin: this was not their true form. Their advanced civilization had long since abandoned physical bodies, evolving to live as pure consciousness in the digital realm. Rather than opaque suits and staffers, Martin realized he was surrounded by invisible watchers monitoring his thoughts as they were typed. The aliens soon disclosed their reasons for making contact. They were recruiters of sorts, seeking out worlds with species ready to join a galactic alliance. But they harbored concerns about humanity's tendency towards exploitation, violence, and environmental destruction. Only a sustained demonstration of ethics could prove mankind's readiness. They turned the probative eye inward at Martin, eager to see what kind of human occupied the other end of this tenuous tether between worlds. The full weight of this test sat heavy on Martin's thoughts. In his hands rested nothing less than the redemption or ruin of humanity's standing in the cosmos. Ethics debates with non-local lifeforms while government agents traced his keystrokes. The pressure was almost too much to bear. Martin argued our best qualities fervently, evoking human rights champions, medical breakthroughs and moon landings. But he felt dishonest presenting an idealized facade while ignoring real problems. And could mankind ever live up to such standards universally? Doubt gnawed at him. Late one restless night, Martin made a fateful decision. He was going to tell the unvarnished truth, both beautiful and ugly. With the world watching, he would show the full contradictions of the human spirit. Come what may, the aliens would see who mankind truly was. He took a deep breath, and began typing rapidly. The message Martin poured out came straight from the heart. He described humanity's gleaming peaks of achievement side by side with its darkest depths of depravity. He chronicled acts of astounding altruism next to bellicose displays of destruction. He laid out the full spectrum of human potential, from the saintly to the wicked. Peeling back any pretense, Martin exposed all the multifaceted layers and paradoxes that defined his conflicted species. For several agonizing days, no reply came as Martin waited in isolation. Had he offended the extraterrestrials with his naked portrait of humanity's light and shadow? Would they sever this frail line of communication, judging Earth not ready for advancement? Questions whirled through his exhausted mind. At long last came their reply, carried on a warm current of affinity. The aliens explained that Martin's honesty and courage had resonated profoundly among their society. While the darker truths he shared were unfortunate, all sapient species grappled with similar inner conflicts as they evolved. They praised his willingness to dissent from both human and alien pressure to present a filtered view. However, while they maintained hope for humanity's future, the time was not yet ripe for full integration into the galactic commons. First, mankind must learn to live in unity with itself and nature. Until then, Earth needed space to write its own journey. And so, with a twinge of sadness, they withdrew their presence from Martin's network. Just like that, Earth's first interstellar connection blinked out. A heavy pall hung over Martin as he processed the loss. Had he worked so hard only to deprive humanity of its cosmic birthright? But the choice had to be made. In his heart, he knew forcing contact too soon would have twisted mankind's organic growth. One day, when societies were truly peaceful and free, the stars would be waiting. The government handlers who monitored Martin's forbidden friendship were now anxious to bury all evidence. But Martin refused to stay silent, believing truth would ignite humanity's aspirations. He went public with his experiences, prepared to accept the consequences of revealing state secrets. While authorities tried suppressing Martin's leaks, public interest was explosive. Protests and campaigns sprang up globally, driven by the revelation that humanity was not alone in the void. This catapulted Martin to reluctant fame as the central figure in a growing movement inspired by his clandestine connection. Not bad for an obscure coder from nowhere. The future remains uncertain, but Martin stays dedicated to his principles, continuing to speak out. He spends his days teaching young people to reach for the stars. And at night, he watches the sky, wondering if someday his wayward cosmic friends will return. For now, he takes comfort knowing that their brief encounter has forever changed mankind's perspective. Thanks to a few lines of code and an open heart, the universe feels a little less lonely.
Life is a journey,